Let's talk about how to set your baby up for success with the transition to solids. For letting your baby or toddler lead the way throughout this whole process. The first thing that you can do when you are introducing your baby to solid foods to hopefully prevent any challenges from arising is to use a responsive feeding approach. Responsive feeding means that we're prioritizing our child's communication and their growing independence. So when your child is a baby, responsive feeding looks like you learning to recognize that they're hungry and offering them the opportunity to eat, and then learning to recognize when they're full and discontinuing the feeding at that time. We're still doing that as we transition to solids, but we're doing even more to support our child's independence. Instead of coming to the table with a spoon and saying, here you go, here are your bites, we're gonna focus on letting a child be independent. If we start with a spoon, we might hand them the spoon. We might let them play with the food. Or we might offer pieces of food that they can independently pick up and decide to taste when they're ready. A baby transitioning to solid foods is working on so many different skills. They're working on their mouth skills, their hand skills, socializing with you at the table. It's not all about just sitting, eating, and moving on. So when we feed babies responsively and we allow them to tell us, yes, I'm hungry, yes, I want this, no, I don't want that, and now I'm full, we help them tune into what their bodies are telling them, which is going to set them up for a lifetime of eating based on their internal sensations of hunger and fullness. Responsive feeding doesn't mean that we never help our babies eat though, but it means we help them just enough so they can do it themselves. So you might help your little one get something on a fork and bring it to their mouth. You might help them learn how to hold a utensil. You might hold a cup close to their mouth so they can lean in and take a sip. We're letting our child lead the way. The second thing that you can do at the table to set your child up for success and hopefully avoid feeding challenges is to look for enjoyment. So remember, I just talked about all the things that your child is learning at the table: hand skills, mouth skills, learning to explore new tastes and textures. They're also socializing and they're learning from everything happening around them. So in early intervention, we really want babies and toddlers to participate in family mealtime experiences to the maximum extent possible. When we look for enjoyment at the table, our babies and toddlers continue to lead the way through this process. So we can incorporate baby in the family mealtime, notice which foods they're interested in trying, make any modifications for safety if needed, and let baby lead the way. Today, your child might want to squish the pasta that you're having and smear the sauce all over their face. Tomorrow, they may not want anything to do with that pasta, but instead they just might want to gnaw on that piece of bread. Or they might want to take a sip out of your cup and think that is really, really fun to do. You watch your baby and say, what does my baby want? What are they working on? What are they interested in? You can offer your baby the just right opportunity for them. Meaning, if your baby is just staring at that broccoli and reaching for it and trying to get it as you're eating it, you might think, maybe they want to try a piece, and hand a piece over. When your baby has positive experiences at the table because we're meeting them where they are and we understand what they're motivated to do, then they have positive mealtime experiences. And positive mealtime experiences are what motivates children to come back to the table ready for learning. As they get to know foods and build their skills through these opportunities, you're going to notice that how much they eat starts to increase over time. And the third thing you can do to set your child up for success is have family meal times. When I say family meal times, I don't mean you have to prepare 4 courses and have it ready and everyone's sitting at the table. This just means that you're eating together. So it might mean that you sit down with your scrambled eggs and your toast and you are having some bites and offering it to your child. It might mean that if you're not ready to eat your dinner, or maybe you want to eat later with a partner, that you have a little tiny serving of whatever your child is eating. Here's why that's so important. Because as I said earlier, mealtime isn't just about eating. It's about learning and connection. So your child loves doing things with you, and they learn by watching you. So they learn foods are safe by watching you eat those foods and think, oh wow, if my big person is eating that, it must be okay for me to eat that. They learn about how we use utensils, how we feed ourselves, how we chew, how we swallow, how we drink by watching you do it. By modeling these things at the table, just sharing the mealtime with your child, you are giving them so many learning opportunities. And when you're together and you're socializing and maybe you're talking, there's that loving connection that helps your child enjoy mealtimes even more. For more information on the things I talked about today, you can go to chicagofeedinggroup.org and check out our responsive feeding page and download our responsive feeding fact sheet. You can also go to the American Academy of Pediatrics link that I've included in your resources for a wonderful video really demonstrating responsive feeding. And if you're concerned about your child's transition to solid foods, or you think they might be having some challenges with eating, talk to your service coordinator and ask for an evaluation with a feeding specialist, typically a speech-language pathologist or an occupational therapist. That person can talk with you about your child's strengths, what those just right opportunities are, and the next steps.